Ladies and gentlemen of the interwebs, you may be asking yourself why you're staring at a man grinning into the camera. This is the madness in Canada. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. All you need to do is scratch the surface to discover the rampant, bottomless corruption of our elected officials. Because the reality is, if you don't get involved in politics, you end up being governed by your inferiors, and those who hold power are the last ones that should. Behold, madness in Canada.
Hey everybody, Jeff Evely here. I'm in Petersfield Provincial Park in the most tyrannical province of Canada, which is Nova Scotia, with my fuzzy friend Axel, where we walk pretty much every single morning. And here you can see that this area is taped off because that trail is the woods. But this area is not taped off because that's not the woods. This area is taped off because that's the woods, and there is a sign here that says trail closed due to extreme fire hazard. So that is the woods. This area is not the woods. This area is the woods. This area is not the woods. This area is the woods. This area is not the woods. This area is the woods. This area is not the woods.
And I don't want to play sleuth, like internet sleuth, armchair quarterback. I've lived in Canada during very dry summers. That looks relatively lush and relatively green compared to what I would be expecting for arid, prone to fire seasonal conditions. This guy's got good deadpan delivery.
This area is the woods.
Clearly.
This area is not the woods.
Obviously.
This is the woods. If we go in there, fires will start.
I'm waiting for the government to give this guy a $25,000 ticket because clearly his dog, by digging up dirt like that, could cause a spark in whatever flint is left over from the early tribes having lived in Nova Scotia, spark a forest fire because of a dog covering up his own pee-pee. Or they're going to give him a ticket for not cleaning up his dog's waste, although that looked like a pee-pee, not a poo-poo. Beautiful dog, by the way.
So, come on, buddy. We're going to start a fire. Come on.
Well, I'm not used to having a dog actually listen to commands. That's amazing.
That's a good boy. Come on, buddy. This area is not the woods.
Oh, look, I really don't want to be a smartass. That's green. That's lush. That looks exactly like what summertime looks like in Canada.
Right, buddy? Now, the first time that Tyron Tim pulled this crap, this area was the woods, and there were pylons all across this trail, so I could not enter in 2023. But this is 2025, so it's not the woods. This area is the woods.
All right, you got the idea. Let me read this because it's actually quite important. This is Christopher Hitchens. The true essence of a dictatorship is, in fact, not its regularity, but its unpredictability and caprice. Those who live under it must never be able to relax, must never be quite sure if they have followed the rules correctly or not. Gentlemen, I've got some updates on what's going on in Canada. I started off the show in the Viva Golfer's voice, saying all you need to do to scratch the surface and you will discover the corruption. I have a habit. If there's someone I want to, go after, if there's someone who is now the target of my political ire, I literally do this exercise, and it's quite glorious in its simplicity. You see, what you do now is you put in their name in the Google search engine. If you use Brave or DuckDuckGo or AI, it'll work just as well. And you put in the word scandal. If it's a Democrat in America, put in sex scandal. You'll typically find something. Or spy scandal. Just put in the person's name. Here I had to specify Nova Scotia because Tim Houston is not the most uncommon name on earth, eh? And I put in scandal. Do you know what I found? It's an amazing thing. Tim Pool. Sorry, Tim. I didn't mean you. Tim Pool actually drew that drawing right there of me, and I took it home from a podcast with him. Tim Houston, the Premier of Nova Scotia, is a progressive conservative. You see, Canada's conservatives are so conservative, they're progressive conservatives. I like to say it's like a flat mountain, jumbo shrimp, pregnant virgin. I've used that joke before. Progressive conservatives, because being conservative means conserving traditional values, and being progressive means that you are an untethered conservative that can float in the ocean breezes, depending on which way they're blowing. It's an oxymoron. But these progressive conservative politicians out of Canada are putting the moron back in oxymoron. So I put in Tim Houston's scandal. Holy sweet, merciful goodness, people. Where do I start? I'm going to start with alleged corruption involving the Paradise Papers. Have you guys heard of the Paradise Papers? I think America might not have heard about the Paradise Papers, but it's sort of like, I want to say it's on par with, I'm trying to think of a leak of something. Like it's sort of like the Canadian equivalent of being in the Epstein list that doesn't exist. The Panama Papers were leaked papers from offshore banking in, I don't want to say the Cayman Islands. I want to say offshore, Bermuda, etc. And it had the names of a bunch of prominent politicians who there's no tax haven that's too good for them. They will tax your ass into the cemetery, into the grave, and then they'll tax your ass when you're in the grave, when they tax your estate. They'll tax you up to 40 some odd percent of your income. They'll tax you 15% on whatever you buy. They'll tax you on your house when you buy it and sell it. They'll tax you on utilities. They'll tax you on your license because that is a disguised tax. They'll tax you on your passport. They will literally tax you after death. But they will find the best tax havens to hide their monies, as Tim Houston is alleged to have done. This is from the Halifax Examiner. I'm going to give him credit because all of the dirt that I found on Tim Houston seems to be coming by way of reporting from the Halifax Examiner. And by the way, for those of you saying, what the hell do I care about what's going on in Halifax, Nova Scotia? Don't worry, we're going to get into the America stuff soon. This is what's going on in Canada. Here are the Nova Scotians named in the Paradise Papers. Nova Scotians connected to the Paradise Papers include professional investors, mining company execs, people who made their fortunes via online betting, a former Port Authority director, and a retired vice admiral. And the current premier of the province of Nova Scotia, who is a filthy fascist tyrant bastard that is telling people they cannot access public parks anymore, on which you pay taxes. In November, the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists began reporting on a trove of leaked documents it called the Paradise Papers. Listen to this. Paradise Papers. Documents include nearly 7 million loan agreements, financial statements, emails, trust deeds, paperwork from nearly 50 years at Appleby, a leading offshore law firm with offices in Bermuda and beyond. The documents also include files from a smaller family-owned trust company, that looks like a disease, Asia City. Oh, Asia. Such an idiot. Sorry. Asia City. And from company registries, 19 jurisdictions. The records range from complex 100-page corporate transactions to dollar-by-dollar payment ledgers to simple corporate registries, et cetera, et cetera. Those documents became the foundation for a series of articles published by the ICIJ's 95 media members, including the Toronto Star, CBC. So far, that reporting is concentrated mostly on political figures named in the Paradise Papers. Most notably, Liberal fundraisers and Trudeau confidants Stephen Bronfman and retired Senator Leo Colbert, who parked $60 million in a Cayman Islands trust, and former Prime Ministers Jean Chrétien, Paul Martin, Brian Mulroney. CBC followed with yada. Okay, fine. There have been a few articles written. Okay, additionally, I explored the backgrounds here. Okay, I want to get to where's Tim Houston's in this? Houston, you got a problem. Tim Houston. PC leadership candidate Tim Houston shows up in the ICIJ database as a signatory for and director of various divisions of the Inter-Ocean Reinsurance Company. According to the database, Houston's connections with the companies all lasted for a few months in 2007 and not since. Andy Gunn reporting from the Chronicle. In an email statement, Houston said his listing among the Paradise Papers files has nothing to do with Canadian taxes or personal taxes, but is related to his time living and working in Bermuda, which he said was a great opportunity for him to work in international business. One of the non-Canadian reinsurance companies I worked for at the time owned several other companies. These are companies that operated in the international reinsurance market. Given my time in Bermuda, working in this market at a time in my career when I was taking on increasing responsibility, I was listed as having held senior positions in certain companies. Those responsibilities have been identified in one of the 13.4 million records pulled out. Houston said taxes are a fundamental part of how society functions, and he believes companies and business owners need to play by the rules and pay their taxes like everyone else. Well, isn't that special? That was one scandal. Minor. I'm going to give everybody the link for the homework. Link. Then I go and look up another one where it seems that there's an old expression, sell to the wealthy, live among the masses. Sell to the masses, live among the wealthy. Sometimes it's meant with approval. Other times it's not. It would seem that not only does Tim Houston live among the wealthy, and there's nothing wrong with that. It would seem that he bestows favors on the wealthy who happen to be his neighbors from the Halifax Examiner, keeping it in the neighborhood. A provincial $950,000 sole source contract went to the company owned by Premier Tim Houston's neighbors. Who does he live next to? Billionaires. Lord knows I wouldn't want my neighbor. Oh, let's see here. Nova Scotia government officials are keeping details about how a $950,000 sole source contract awarded to Sobeys last month shrink wrapped for now. The grocery giant headquartered in Stellarton, Nova Scotia, got a contract on April 1st as part of a long gestating consumer loyalty program, Nova Scotia Loyal. No other information was available. We can go. It was reported in the CBC, Canadian Broadcasting News, also known as state-funded propaganda. What did they write? Nova Scotia chose a national grocery giant for its $6 million buy local program. Reaction has been mixed. Oh, is it because it was just sole source contract granted to Tim Houston's billionaire neighbors? I think he seems to live on an island, at least surrounded by Sobeys properties. Producers, retailers review pro and cons of program to promote buying local. A provincial rewards government program designed to encourage consumers to buy local is getting mixed reviews from Nova Scotia producers and retailers, primarily for its selection of Sobeys Inc. grocery stores to hold a key role. In July, the Tim Houston government announced details of a $950,000 contract with Sobeys for its long-promised Nova Scotia loyalty program. Though the program, who cares about the program? Where was it? Going back down here. Going down here. Feedback from the public. Documents obtained by CBC News through a Freedom of Information request show some members of the public complained to the Premier's office about the agreement with Sobeys. The deal with Sobeys is wrong and not the way to support local business and not the best use of our tax revenue. I have supported most of your actions to date, but not this, said one email. Sobeys and NSLC are not small businesses. I shop locally and will not get anything from this. In fact, it directly benefits Sobeys. Is this award? Sobeys declined an interview. In an email statement, a spokesperson said there are more than 2,000 qualifying local Nova Scotia products in Sobeys, Foodland, and participating stores. Where does it talk about how he chose to give it to what happens to be his neighbors? These are the tyrants that are governing you. They don't have to answer to anybody. You are their servants. You are their subjects. And when they decide to take your rights away, you don't get to say a damn thing, even if it's absolutely capricious, totally illogical, as highlighted by that opening statement. But it's an amazing thing. You scratch the surface and you discover the rampant corruption. This is bipartisan, at least in Canada for the time being. It involves so-called conservatives. The man taking away Nova Scotians' rights under the pretext of forest fires. You no longer even get to go into the forest on your own property if you have a big enough property. I guarantee you, Tim Houston is going in whatever forest he might have on whatever property he might own. Nah. That's it. Scratch the surface. They are all corrupt. They will all cut the corners of their own rules because they get away with it, and there's very little anybody can do about it. And in Canada, you just rewarded the Liberals with another 4 years of rule. Congrats, Canada. Good afternoon, everybody. How goes the battle? Viva Fry, former Montreal litigator, current Florida Rumbler.